Greetings. Welcome to another segment of Keep the Beat with Pete. And as we indicated in some of the posts earlier, today we're going to talk about the great jazz tradition of playing 4-bar phrases and 32-bar choruses, whatever, trades, eights, fours, eights, and like really wired into the melody. That's what a lot of the great jazz players were doing. In fact, just about all of them that I can think of. I mean, later on in the more modern or progressive jazz, they break away from doing that, and sometimes you have a solo that is really out. It's unrelated to maybe the time and the melody. But when you get into the more standard ones throughout, especially on the swing era, the bebop era, and even post-bop, they were somehow or other tying it in. And that's what we're going to work on today. So there's three things that I think are important to cover. Number one, in terms of this, know your song form. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, we talk about 4 categories. I think of the drums that one of them is song repertoire, and the other is vocabulary, the other one's body mechanics, and the other one is know your equipment. Today we'll probably touch on song repertoire, vocabulary, and equipment. Okay, so song form is going to be important if you're going to do that. If you're going to do it with Philly Joe Jones, Buddy Rich, I don't know, Max Roach, the great guy, the great players, Louis Bellson, Joe Morello. If you're going to play a solo and link it to the melody, you have to know the song form very well. So you do that by humming along, hum the song, play some 4-bar phrases with that song in your head. Pick some of your favorite songs. The standards are great to work on this with. I'm thinking Love for Sale, Gone with the Wind, not from the movie, but the song that like Bill Evans people cover and stuff like that. There's a zillion of them, right, that are in that format. Sometimes they speed them up. Cherokee, you can play a faster brush solo or something like that, okay? You got that melody going, you got the 32-bar chorus form going, and pretty much in standard time, and you just can wail because you know the song so well, and you can loop it through. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, that would be very helpful, is you get your 4-bar phrases down. So they're trading with you, like. Phrases down, and we have a whole segment, we talked about that. You get your favorite patterns and you start making your phrases. Well, once you have those 4-bar phrases, you're building. Once you have 8, now you start thinking, okay, then you start thinking about the song. So if it's A, B, A, then you're going to know that you're going to have some similar but not identical patterns in the first 16 bars. You're going to have the 8-bar bridge or release, and then you're going to come back and close out the solo. And you hear a lot of the great soloists setting it up in those last 4 bars, particularly it's the crescendo, it's ready to go. Of course, an open or extended solo, there's going to be multiple choruses, okay? So that's something you then have to work on, just increasing the variance of your solo, okay? And of course your tempo. Your tempo's got to be somewhat connected to the song. We know that the soloists will often speed up, they get excited, things are going to happen with these different phrases. We're not looking for a metronome to govern you, it's not with a click track, this kind of thing. But you don't want to be so far off that it's noticeable and it starts to deteriorate one way or the other, too slow, too fast. Usually it's going to be faster, but it's got to be somewhat close. And so close so that the human ear, the body, the neuromuscular reaction for the audience and yourself is like, oh yeah, that's all fitting, pretty much together, okay? And so how do you do that? Okay, your 4-bar phrases. You'll hear people use, again, short rolls and certain pet phrases. You'll hear, you know. You, therefore, start by building your own vocabulary of phrases. We've talked about this in a lot of different segments. Comping segments, using triplets for comping, short rolls. So you're going to start to realize that you do have favorites, and regardless of how much we try to expand the vocabulary, you want to break out of the ruts and all that, you're going to have favorites. And it's good to have those anchor type favorite go-tos, you know? Have them, because you're going to use them when the heat's on and it's really going. You're going to go to those fallback phrases. The idea is you want to have your embellishments and your variations. So I think if you have a set of really good go-to phrases, baseline for yourself, permutations, things that you've worked on, you move the 1 to the 2 to the 3, you flip them, you flop them, and you know your song form, and you have worked on your sense of time. Love yourself. Song in my head, I'm taking some of my fun things at that tempo that makes sense. You know, it might be faster, they might be taking the song slower, but you lock into a certain tempo when you go. You can have your metronome count the bars. You know, I have one tempo here, it'll show the bars. It'll take you up to 32, so you can see how far off you are. But it doesn't have to be locked in like I said, with a click track. It's going to have some breathing space, it's going to pick up a little bit, but it should be close, so that when you leave the rest of the band behind and they're saying go, you've kind of carried that melody right into your solo, using your favorite patterns. Now there's one other important component to this. The older jazz drummers in the tradition had their drum sets. Each one had a mark, their own signature tuning. Like Max Roach is the most distinguished, distinct, right? That you really hear that high pitched, palms, right? So when when you hear the Max Roach record, you say, "Oh, that's Max Roach." Before he played too much. Philly Joe Jones' set was a bit different. Buddy Rich's set was more mid-range, I would say. But what you want to do is try to tune your drums, and I know people can tune them into certain pitches and keys, and there's a lot of videos on that. But at least, if you want to try to do something reasonable, you want to have your drums pitched nicely, like. And that'll help you. and the tune right through your solo. So just to review, you want to have your song repertoire down so you know a lot of songs. You definitely want to know your song form. Um, you would listen to the tracks, you would listen to how the band wants to take it, the tempo, what the arrangement is, a number of times so you feel the way they're playing it. Now you're going to trade fours or eights maybe, and then they're going to say go for a chorus. Let's just stick with a chorus for now. And you want to have some of your pet phrases that you set this up with. You're grooving that melody using your drum phases. Obviously, you're not playing this on a sax or literally on a clarinet or something, piano, where you're literally playing the notes, but you are playing the melody on the kit. And you want to have it where people go, oh, wow, you know, that sounds like he's playing the song. Yeah, that's the point. So that's it, folks. Get your song repertoire down. Have your certain pat 4-bar phrases, then you can build your eights. As I said, once you have your 8-bar phrases, you're going to have like 2 or 3 groups of them, right? 2 groups of eights that'll be somewhat related. The third one, like say it's AABA song form. The third one is a kind of a release, so you can make some contrasting 8-bar phrase, and then you close it out with your crescendo type phrasing. Okay, so you have that, and you have your drums tuned somewhat to a pitch where you have, you know, high and descending, or you know, ascending and descending order of the sound. Keep your heads as fresh as possible. I don't know, some people are saying change them once a year if you're playing a lot. I would tend to think maybe 18 months or 2 years. I mean, you know, after a while, put it this way, you got to play them or it's going to, your sound will deteriorate a bit, especially if you're recording them. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so song repertoire, have your pet phrases, you know your song form, then build your 4s and 8s, and then, you know, have your drums tuned in a way that makes it possible for you to communicate the idea of that. Okay? For all you new subscribers, welcome aboard. For those of you that have been with me for a while, you know that a lot of these segments are linked together. So you go back and check out our 4-bar phrases video that said the key to great drum solos. A lot of things on short rolls, roughs, and drags, you know, how these things can be built into, again, your vocabulary to make things happen. Go back and check some of those out, so when you put this all together, pick a favorite song and try it. Try one of your favorite jazz tunes, I would say, because this really comes out of the jazz tradition. You might get this in a rock solo here and there, but a lot of times in the more modern music, the drummer just takes off and it's a lot of rhythmic patterns. But in the jazz tradition, you're going to hear a lot of melodic solos. And so pick one of those tunes, assuming you play jazz at all, and see what you can do with it. But if it is a pop or a rock tune and you want to riff that way, you want to try, then try that. You can still do the same exact thing in a funky tune or something like that. Just pick one of your favorites, do 8 bars and come back, then do a 16, then do a 32-bar chorus, and see if you can make it sound like, wow, you know, this guy, I could hear what he's doing. He's like staying very close to the song. It also helps you playing a lot anyway. So thanks again for watching, and remember, we're here to try to help you create the beat you keep, and these segments are part of like a full lesson is somebody that gives you feedback on what you're playing, but this is a segment to give you some ideas on how to go about practicing things. So again, thanks for tuning in. Create the beat you keep the beat with Pete. Peace out.